Today on Hearts of Heroes.
All you can see is this giant ball of fire.
When a woman is trapped inside a burning vehicle, an off-duty firefighter leaps into action.
The car was very, very heavily damaged. It was on fire. I couldn't get her out of the driver or passenger side. There was no opening those doors at all. Then I realized my jacket I was wearing was on fire.
Plus, a war hero is caught in a raging house fire.
Our thought was there might be people in this house.
Can anybody hear me?
You could see flames coming out through the bottom of the door and through the top.
I can't breathe.
There are no road maps to being a hero. Saving lives is about instinct, intuition, and instantaneous thinking.
We've all heard the saying, right place, right time. And in the case of our next story, that couldn't have been more true.
When an off-duty firefighter came upon a fiery car wreck, he took it upon himself with no firefighting equipment to attempt a very heroic rescue.
Just 55 miles from the bustling mecca of New York City lies the sleepy community of Brookfield, Connecticut.
The town of Brookfield's mainly a smaller farming-type town. Everything around us is more or less very rural. It's about 18,000 people. It's a nice, quiet little town.
Given its size, this community relies on a devoted squad of volunteer firefighters.
We're community-minded, mission-driven individuals. Many second, third, fourth generation firefighters belong to this fire company. It's how we were raised. We're pretty proud of that fact, that it is neighbors helping neighbors.
Nicholas Perry is also a loyal firefighter. However, he works for a department one state over.
My name's Nicholas Perry. I'm a firefighter in White Plains, New York. I've been on the job 12 years now.
In November of 2022, Nicholas was driving down a lonely stretch of Route 7, a road that runs straight through Brookfield.
It was early morning out at a buddy's house. I'm going home, and the road I go down is a very dark two-lane. There's no street lights.
Route 7 is not very well lit. It's narrow, windy, dark roads.
You get pretty dark here, especially in a lot of the more wooded areas. It can get pitch black.
So if you're not paying attention, it's really easy to get disoriented on those roads.
At the same time, a young woman was traveling down the same road. Suddenly, she careened off the highway down a wooded embankment.
She went off and just right into the woods.
Her car pancaked into a tree, and the whole car was on fire.
Nicholas pulled over to help when another person got his attention.
A woman was actually flagging me down. So I asked them, is everyone okay? And said, no, there's someone still in that car. By this point, the car is already on fire.
A 911 call went out to the Brookfield Fire Department.
It was 3 o'clock in the morning. The report we got from dispatch was that it was an accident involving a car on fire with people trapped inside. So any type of call like that is going to get your adrenaline going.
I was on the first truck that got out, and just as I was getting out, 2 more people showed up, hopped in with me, and then we took off towards the fire.
As the fire team was en route, back at the crash site, Nicholas scrambled down the embankment to the burning vehicle.
The car was very, very heavily damaged. It was on fire. It was pinned between 2 trees. The engine was completely out of the car. In my mind, I'm preparing myself to say someone's not alive in this car.
Incredibly, the driver had survived.
I did actually see there was someone inside, and they were in and out of consciousness, but I definitely could tell they were alive.
With no way of telling when first responders would arrive, Nicholas knew he had to act fast.
There was one person in the car, and I could tell, very, very pinned, intertangled in the car.
Nicholas braced for a rescue mission unlike any that he had tackled before.
It's different. I wasn't at work. I didn't have guys behind me or showing up in a couple minutes. I didn't have a hose line with me. I had no gear with me.
Coming up.
Jacket I was wearing was on fire, so now I'm like, all right, definitely gonna get burned now.
But first, some advice for young people who have always wanted to be a part of the highly rewarding first responder community.
For many young people, high school is about college prep and pep rallies. But did you know that many fire departments have programs to inspire and train students to become first responders?
Some examples are junior firefighters, basic fire academy, or fire cadet programs. Firefighters are needed across America, and these programs are essential. We urge young men and women to consider a gratifying career in the service of others.
Give your local fire department a call or check with your school's administration to see if these programs exist in your area. There is no better feeling than dedicating your life to saving lives.
In the early morning of November 26, 2022, off-duty firefighter Nicholas Perry came upon a burning vehicle crashed in a ravine. With a severely injured woman inside, he had to act quickly.
Just seeing the condition of the vehicle, the fire, how badly it was pinned, wedged between those trees, I gotta do something.
With the car on fire, Nicholas would have to launch into a one-man rescue operation.
You have minutes. You really have minutes because the fuel goes right underneath the passenger compartment and all the stuff in a car can burn. Everything can burn. It happens very quickly.
Being a fireman, I know that by the time 911 gets dispatched to them, you need the fire truck to get there, you need the hose line to get there. That's on the fire trucks. It's not going to be in 2 minutes, and we didn't have 2 minutes.
He faced the unprecedented challenge of having to tackle this rescue without any firefighting equipment or protective gear.
I was wearing a pair of jeans, sneakers, a t-shirt, and I had like a light jean jacket.
Nicholas was facing a seemingly impossible rescue, but he wasn't about to give up.
I couldn't get her out of the driver or passenger side. There was no opening those doors at all. So I found a log or something in the woods over there. I broke the passenger side window first, and I kind of peeked in to get a better assessment of how she was.
He could see that the woman was pinned under the dash, and he knew that he only had moments to get her out.
So I kind of dove in there a little bit and tried giving her a little tug. So let me see if I could pull her.
But the woman's other leg was caught on the brake pedal, and now Nicholas's own safety was in jeopardy.
We have to keep going back and taking a breath and going in, because it's all fire. Then I realized my jacket I was wearing from like my sleeve up to maybe here was on fire. So I just took that off, and I'm definitely gonna get burned now. I made my second attempt to go in. Again, I couldn't free her. At this point, I'm praying. I'm like, please, God, like something work in my favor. And I was able to go down, and I'm reaching around, and now I'm pretty much laying in the car completely.
Miraculously, he was able to reach down and untangle her shoe from the brake pedal.
It worked out. She came lying out with me. As soon as I turned over and looked back up, the whole inside of the car was on fire.
The woman was rescued from the car, but her life was still hanging in the balance.
This rescue wasn't over.
Nicholas now had to get her up the hill and away from the searing blaze.
I tried picking her up, and I just like fell back to my knees.
Just then, another person came down to help him.
We both got under her arm. We dragged her as close to the roadway as possible.
By now, first responders had arrived.
The medic and EMT that were on immediately sprang into action, grabbed her, got her on the stretcher, and started treating her injuries.
We immediately started preparing for fire suppression, so we donned our gear and our air packs, and we went right into attack.
As firefighters worked to put out the blaze, the young woman was rushed to the hospital.
Once I knew she was finally in the care of the medical personnel there, FD was on scene, I could look around and say, all right, my job's done.
Only then did the gravity of the situation hit Nicholas.
I remember I collapsed, like my knees gave out, I fell to the ground, just laying there, and I remember I started crying, and I was like, I can't believe that. Just like, what the heck just happened? Did I really just get this girl out?
Once at the hospital, the woman was treated for a number of injuries, but because of Nicholas's heroic actions, she's alive today.
The deck was stacked against her for sure, and by the grace of God, a firefighter was behind her on the way home.
It took a tremendous amount of courage for him to go in there and get her out. She wouldn't have survived had it not been for him.
You put the right person at the right place in the right time, and anything can happen. Man's a hero.
I'm grateful that for the career I have, that I was able to make a difference, even if it was just that one person. I'm satisfied with that. I made a difference in one person's life, and that goes a long way for me.
Coming up, police officers raced to save an elderly man trapped in a burning home.
Our thought was there might be people in this house.
We all do our best to stay safe and out of harm's way, but a life-threatening emergency can happen in an instant.
Luckily, first responders are trained, prepared, and on the ready. And thankfully, they can handle whatever is thrown their way. The community of Hatboro, Pennsylvania shares many things in common with other small towns across America. It's a place where neighbors look out for neighbors, and public service is a proud tradition.
The old borough has about 8,000 residents, tight-knit community. As a police officer, you get to know these people fairly well.
That sense of community pride is exemplified in their all-volunteer fire department.
I've been at Hatboro, this station, for 36 years. I grew up down the street, so I joined when I was 16. It's a good group of guys, and in a lot of ways, they're very dedicated because they're not getting paid. They do it out of the love of the work.
97-year-old Bob Keegan is a resident of Hatboro and was a naval pilot in World War II.
I was in the South Pacific for 19 months. I was in the amphibious Navy. I was on a ship. I was so proud of them, and a lot of them didn't make it.
After the war, Bob and his wife moved to Hatboro, and they raised 5 children. Bob still lives in the same home today.
We had 4 boys, 1 girl. It was so special because they all grew up there. We had all those children in that house. We never felt that we were crowded or it was overpopulated. We loved it the way it was.
Their home is filled with so many photographs and fond memories that he and his wife made a special pact before she passed away.
We made a little agreement. She said, if one of us goes, don't sell the house and move out. We agreed that both of us would die there. She was the first, and that's what I intend to do. I intend to live there till my time is up.
In the early morning of Thanksgiving 2023, that pact was threatened when a fire started in the family home. Around 3 o'clock that morning, Police Sergeant Aaron Simon was on patrol and a dispatch went out.
I was sitting at an intersection a couple blocks away, actually, from the neighborhood. I saw it come up on our computer screen that there was an active fire and just started heading there.
This wasn't just any blaze. A rapid fire was spreading throughout the Keegan home. Sergeant Simon met Officer Robert McMahon at the scene.
My sergeant got out of the car first. He initially told me, run back to your car real quick and throw on your sirens. Hopefully that might wake somebody up.
I immediately went to the front door. I actually tried kicking in the front door, and oh my gosh, it wouldn't go.
My sergeant was still working on the front door, which would not budge.
I was mule kicking the door multiple times, 5, 10 times. There was no budging on it.
So I ran to the back door and was able to kick that in to gain entry to the house.
My partner had kicked in the bottom here enough for us to crawl through. We ended up crawling in, made our way through this kitchen area here.
The officers had no idea if there were victims trapped inside.
Our thought was there might be people in this house. This is time of night, and this is, a holiday where people might be home.
Coming up.
You could see flames coming out through the bottom of the door and through the top.
It's bad up there, dude.
But first, a tip that could save your life, especially if a fire ever breaks out when you're in a multi-story building.
We've heard the warnings since we were kids. In case of fire, use the stairs, not the elevator. But when fire strikes, many people panic, causing them to forget the warnings and make unwise decisions.
Now and again, refresh yourself with seemingly simple fire safety tips to ensure they are top of mind. Elevators might seem like the quickest escape during a fire, but the water used to extinguish flames can short out a building's electrical system. This causes elevators to lose power, possibly trapping those inside. Most buildings have multiple stairways, giving occupants a few options for safely evacuating.
And don't forget to always avoid the smoke by staying low and below. Simple reminders like these could one day save your life.
In the early morning hours of Thanksgiving Day, Sergeant Aaron Simon and Officer Robert McMahon responded to a residential fire. After crawling through the back door, they began searching the house.
Can anybody hear me?
We saw a walker at the bottom of the stairs, so we knew that somebody here was either disabled, elderly, of some sort of fashion, might have trouble walking.
The fire was on the second floor. Going up that staircase, that's when the smoke started to get much thicker and it was tougher to breathe.
It's bad up there, dude.
I kind of just kept calling out for somebody, and then I would just be quiet and listen as best as I could for even a faint call.
I can't tell if I can hear somebody up there.
Upstairs, Officer McMahon could see that the fire was coming from one of the bedrooms.
That bedroom door was shut, and you could see flames coming out through the bottom of the door and through the top.
My partner, he went up to the top of the stairs. He couldn't press any further based on, what he saw with the flames coming out one of the doors.
The commotion woke up Bob Keegan, who had no idea the bedroom next to him was on fire.
I heard noises.
Hello?
And I smelled smoke. My throat was real raspy, and I felt a rumbling at the door. I knew there was something wrong. I could smell smoke, and I unlocked the door, and I came out.
I just kind of remember seeing him standing about a foot or two into his room.
You got a fire! Get out of here! Let's go!
I was the one that definitely was yelling at him, trying to tell him to crawl to us.
Come on, sir! Crawl! Get rolling! Crawl! Crawl! Go! Crawl! Crawl! Right there, just crawl!
He was kind of near his doorway, and right when I actually saw him, that's when I just made the leap and ran through to try to grab him. I just took a deep breath and tried to hold my breath as best I could and grabbed him and ripped him out in the hallway.
But 97-year-old Bob was too frail to make it down the stairs by himself.
I grabbed under him, and I'm yelling for my partner, and I told him, hey, this may hurt. My partner's behind me, supporting me as we dragged him down the steps.
It's gonna hurt a little bit, all right? Easy, easy. Is there anyone else in the house? Sir!
They grabbed me, laid me down, and took me down the steps. Boom, boom, boom.
The two men got Bob to the bottom of the stairs, but without his walker, he was unable to get out of the house on his own.
I can't walk. Okay. Grab his feet.
Tell my partner, hey, grab him by the legs. I got him by the arms. Let's go. Let's get him out, and then go from there.
1, 2, 3.
We worked as a team, grabbed him, and went back the exact way we came in.
By then, firefighters had arrived and were able to suppress the flames.
We had our crews make entry up to the second floor. They did a fabulous job containing it to the room of origin. I mean, the rest of the house was damaged, smoke and water, but the fire stayed in that room.
The house had suffered significant damage from the fire, and all of Bob's photos and wartime artifacts were threatened.
It's a lot of memorabilia. And the fireplace was covered with all pictures of all the families. And they got all the photographs out. And my daughter got all that stuff out.
Bob's house and all the memorabilia inside will need extensive restoration, but this war veteran has every intention of keeping the pact he made with his wife.
I don't know how long it's going to take. The day that house is finished, I'm moving back in. I can't tell you how grateful I am to be here, because I wouldn't be anyplace else.
And it's all thanks to two dedicated police officers.
I tell you, they saved my life. I can't wait to see these guys again. I can't wait to shake their hand or give them a hug, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today.
I'm thankful that his family doesn't have to mourn something on a special day, and they get to celebrate the future with him. Gives me the chills a bit, but it's a good feeling. It really is.
When the people came in here to take care and manage the fire, they were actually compassionate about taking them off the walls and putting them away. I couldn't believe it.
It does feel good to feel like we kind of repaid the favor. Back in the day, he made a sacrifice for this nation, and me and Sergeant Simon were kind of able to return the favor in small ways. And thank you for everything that he did.
First responders will humbly tell you that their dedication to duty isn't fueled by praise, but rather it is driven by an unwavering commitment to helping those in need.
It is through selfless acts that these heroes safeguard us from harm's way, ensuring our collective safety.
It's been great having you. We'll see you next time, right here on Hearts of Heroes.